That's a tough one.
Go for it. Nobody says it's going to be easy. Welcome to Dhaka Sessions Interviews. Today we are joined by the director and producer of Dhaka Lit Fest, SADAF SAAZ. A poet, writer, activist, advocate of women's rights, entrepreneur, and social worker, SADAF wears many hats, and she wears them all well. She brings positive international exposure for our literature, culture, and country. SADAF makes us proud. SADAF, welcome to Dhaka Sessions, and thank you so much for making time to join us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Delighted to be here.
Excellent. Okay, so it's 1984. Prince is out with Purple Rain. Thriller is already out. Michael Jackson. Duran Duran is out with Reflex. Spandau Ballet. Human League, with all these going on. I mean, the British charts are just dominating the music scene in England. You know, they're in the hearts of every teenager. You move from England to Chittagong in this height of everything that's going on. Who does that? What's up with that? So tell me about this experience.
Oh my God, it was such a culture shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was 16 and, you know, moved from Cambridge to Chittagong. And and in those days, you know, it was my father like going back, you know, going back to the homeland,
to the roots.
And he had a dream for many years, and finally acted on it.
Okay.
And you know, of course, I didn't want to leave at all.
Yeah.
And you know, I started enrolled in a Chittagong government college. You know, a state.
So ekdam pura Bangla medium. Full English to this is it couldn't be any more poles apart.
Right, exactly, and Bangla eto bhalo kore jantam na tokhon, you know, so it was really in the deep end, and it's not just the language, you know, it's the whole culture. So your reference points, you know, as you were saying, all the music and you know the jokes and you know what you talk about with people, and in Chittagong those days, when literally I had to speak Bangla. I learnt it really quickly.
You didn't have a choice.
Didn't have a choice, and you know, Chittagong College was, you know, as I said, it was a government college that was so different to the world I grew up in.
Yeah. What were some of the barriers? I mean, so one was language, and then two, culture. But how much did it take for you to kind of say, okay, this is my reality? I mean, when did that set in? Because I'm sure you were thinking, I'm going back.
I'm going back, yeah. You know, my father had such a deep conviction and dream to make it in Bangladesh, and had kind of brainwashed us, I guess, into that. And actually, the interesting thing was that so much of what we had grown up with was Bangla Gan and culture, and even though we had, you know, been brought up in Cambridge, and I was just kind of remembering the other day, I think the only other brown person in my entire school was probably from Sri Lanka.
And he didn't speak Bangla.
Exactly. So I think that it was something that something very interesting though happened to me in those 2 years. It was difficult to make friends, but you know, because I'm very outgoing, and the other thing was that my father also didn't have this idea of er basha jabe na, ekhane jabe na. So I in that sense I had much more freedom than a lot of people that I knew. So I think that the interesting thing is that, you know, my father encouraged me to mix with all kinds of people from all kinds of different backgrounds. There was a vibrant cultural scene in Chittagong then. You know, that they were performing Doll's House in Bangla. And, you know, I'd grown up listening to Nazrul Giti and Robindra Sangeet and folk songs. And they used to be, you know, my father used to play them all the time. I remember my aunt, Sultana Puppu, used to come over and, you know, nach gan amra kortam, shiktam, kortam. We used to do choto choto natok bashay. So I had a kind of connection.
Right.
It was all very familiar. It was only years later that I actually understood, for example, what the words were saying or what they meant, or understood the lyrics or understood the poetry. So there was something that was very special that happened to me, I think, in those 2-3 years that I was in Chittagong. I kind of got a connection with something very deep inside me, and it was this kind of intangible engagement, which I still can't explain, that made me want to. I still wanted to go abroad. I wanted to study. I wanted to go to Cambridge University, but I had this dream that I would come back, and very idealistic idea of giving something back to Bangladesh.
And you are. Dreams coming true.
Right. hope so.
Now, you mentioned your father quite a bit. I mean, and rightfully so. I mean, your father, Mr. Jamal Nazrul Islam, was one of the most, what should I say, renowned physicists of the 20th century. He's been cited with, names like Richard Feynman and Stephen Hawking. So what was it like being in the company of such a man?
I think the thing that he instilled in me from a very young age was this insatiable quest for knowledge, his curiosity for all sorts of things, not just physics. And that, I think, has stayed with me.
From writing poetry, organizing and even participating in theater, organizing the Dhaka Lit Fest, DLF, running successful businesses, you certainly wear many hats, okay? What are you most passionate about?
That's a tough one.
Go for it. Nobody says it's going to be easy.
I think to some extent I'm really passionate about everything I do.
Yes.
Which has been tough because that has been something which I've tried to kind of confine myself to, to understanding that you do need to focus on something and really have a deep sadhana of that to take it forward. And so if you do too many things, you don't want to kind of wear yourself thin on any one of them. So obviously literature and writing and I think the cultural arena is something that I'm really passionate about. And I love the engagement of young people, in Dhaka Lit Fest and in the cultural arena when young people come to the productions that we put on or to the events that we do, and I think that kind of interaction is something which is really exciting. And you will know this, I love the idea of curating, and when things just come together and the sparks fly, and there's that kind of
high.
There's such a high, and you feel that kind of, you're communicating something which is inspiring. You're communicating something which people can really kind of connect to their core. So that kind of thing really is fantastic.
I don't read books. Here I am attending every DLF that you've done, day in, day out, performing, and here we are in a bookshop.
I know, it's
the
just
least likely place for me to be in. I should be in a record store, not a bookshop. Okay, so you've definitely inspired me.
But I think that is the other exciting thing about what we tried to do with Dhaka Lit Fest, was bring in people from all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of interests, and have that cross-disciplinary, conversations and dialogue and discourse and exposure. And I think in Bangladesh now, quite often you'll sort of see the English-speaking or English medium kids in one kind of group, tri-state, and then the Bangla medium kids, and there is some kind of a divide and disconnect. And that's one thing that we really tried to address through Dhaka Lit Fest. I always like to say that it's not just an English Lit Fest. It is a festival for Dhaka.
And you couldn't host it at a better place than
Bangla Academy.
Bangla Academy. I mean, that's even more remarkable. All right, so you spent your formative years abroad, yet you exemplify our Bengali culture so well. So here's a difficult question. What does being Bangladeshi mean to you?
It is a difficult question. I think Bangladeshi for me is a way to celebrate all parts of myself. I think one of the key feelings that I have about being Bangladeshi is this idea of syncretism and pluralism, in the sense that I can be many things. Absolutely. And I'm an amalgamation of them, and I'm a kind of better than the different parts of me, a kind of. But I think I learned to celebrate that, and I learned to make that work for me.
I think we underestimate as Bangladeshis and in Bangladesh that we are quite a diverse mix of cultures, right? Yes, the one fantastic unifying thing is obviously our language, that, Bangla, be it Sylheti, be it Chittagongian or whatever, or Dhakaiya, ঠিক আছে, but Bangla is what unites us. Yet, we are very diverse. I mean, the food from Chittagong to Sylhet is quite different. And just as you said, I think, it was beautiful that you are a part and amalgamation of all of those pieces. And that's what makes us all Bangladeshis. I love that.
And I think it's, of course, the language is something which unites us. And there are, of course, other many languages here as well.
Of course, exactly.
But I think this land where, throughout the centuries where, you started with the animist tales and epics,
yes,
and that kind of energy, right, and then throughout the years Buddhism and Hinduism and Islam, and a very I think an open and embracing Islam when we're talking about the Sufi tradition,
right,
where it's something that connects to something higher in us.
Yes,
I believe that all of this kind of mixture of all of these influences that we've actually been able to incorporate and has helped make us flourish, and has been our strength, this kind of diversity as Bangladeshis.
Yeah. We're giving and we take in so much, like you said, that there's all these cultures coming in, and we've taken it and we've also given. Tikna, be it in language, be it in food, whatever. There is such a beauty. It was a beautiful marriage, and I think that we need to come back to that. We need to be reminded that that's what it means to be a Bangladeshi. That we are an amalgamation. I love that word that you used.
We do know who we are, and we're proud of our culture. And I'm not talking about a very kind of prescriptive or dogmatic nationalism. I'm talking about something much more greater than that. To celebrate the fact that we did have the finest muslins in the world, that the best fabrics in the world were exported all over the world, or did travel. We were part of a very vibrant trade route, which again did so well because of our warmth and our generosity and our openness, and openness not just to people but to ideas and
coexistence.
And this idea of culture being very dynamic and fluid and ever changing.
You studied molecular biology at Cambridge University, and here you are writing poetry and hosting literary fests. Is there poetry in molecular biology, and where do you find poetry in your life?
I definitely do think there is poetry in molecular biology, because it's beautiful, it's elegant, and it's got a very strong essence in life. So I feel that is what poetry is to me, and I actually. Out of everything I do, I think poetry has been the constant for me, and it's something which I absolutely love doing, and it doesn't have to be out there, but being able to express myself in a way that distills what I'm feeling inside.
Distills, okay, all right.
I think that is very important to me, and it connects, I think, all sorts of arts. I mean, you do a lot of music. Connects us to who we are,
absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and connects us to something higher. And I think especially for you and me, it's very interesting because you know, there's one side of us that's kind of very good at organizing and that the sort of professional side that, you know, you have to have that hat where
it's business.
It's business, and it's, you know,
I want it this way.
Right. But then there's the other side where you have to be vulnerable, and when you get in touch with your emotions, that's probably when you're most creative. So even when you are, you know, doing the logistics and making sure that everything is kind of, you know, on time and on schedule, and, you know, plan A, B, C, D is being followed, you also have to tap into that other side, because otherwise you're not going to get, you know, the best results.
Right. You're a strong advocate of women's rights. What is one piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
I think it's more or less what I've been doing, which is don't worry about what people say. If it's something that you really believe in, go for it. I mean, that doesn't mean I always get what I want, obviously, or I always do what I would like to. But when I have decided that I want to do something, I'll just do it. I think there's certain things that I've had to compromise on throughout the way, but those have been things which I felt was necessary. And I think that that's the thing with everything in life, because to you know, be able to do the things you want, or it to be acceptable in the right time, there's certain things that you shouldn't compromise on.
True.
And that you need to push the boundaries, and you absolutely need to be out there and be fearless.
Yes. So I want to talk a little bit about your book of poems, Sari Reams, which comes with a beautiful CD of music with, you know, you reciting over the music with your poems. Absolutely brilliant. I loved it. Why this title?
Sari Reams goes back to this idea of the sari connecting the wisdom of women from the past to, you know, who I am today, but also the fact that you can do anything wearing a sari. It's a single piece of cloth, and you can wear it, you know, in so many different ways.
Yes.
And you know, I feel kind of completely like liberated wearing a sari, and I love the fact that it's you know, something which is, you know, very traditionally ours, but at the same time, you know, we can you know, take that and do what we like with it, and you know, interpret it in also a very contemporary way.
Dhaka Lit Fest has become one of the major events of our social calendar in Dhaka. Why do you think Dhaka Lit Fest is so successful?
I think that it touches people in ways that they don't realize. There's something very intangible about our connection to our own culture and literature. You know, a lot of us have been brought up with, you know, poetry, or you know, hearing stories from our parents, or just being exposed to it all around. And you know, Bangladeshis love, you know,
festivals,
and I guess, you know, interacting but I think the other thing is I think this urge to connect with the outside world, to connect to the very best, to look at things in different ways, and hear about things in different ways. And you know, we love stories. We love coming together. And you know, we actually love welcoming in people from all over the world, strangers. We love talking to them. We love finding out about them. And I think all of these things have I think enabled Dhaka Lit Fest to go from strength to strength.
So what beliefs or misbeliefs have you been able to challenge by hosting a literature fest in Dhaka?
Well, the number one challenge was that, you know, nobody's going to come here.
Ah.
Or very few people will come to Dhaka, will want to come to Dhaka. I'm not saying it's easy. It is it is tough, and you know, we have to plan many months in advance. Yeah, some people we ask every single year for years and years and years. I mean, Monakali, I think I asked every single year since the first festival, and you know, she came to our last one.
Okay.
But and the other thing was that, you know, Bangladeshis, are they ready for a Lit Fest?
Yes.
We're
ready.
I remember the first one we did at the British Council. It was a wonderful occasion. You were there, and I think maybe, you know, 500-600 people came. Such a vibrant and energized discussions that we had, and panels and performances, but it was really like, you know, SADAF, you can't expect, you know,
more than 500,
much more than like 1,000 people to a Literature Fest here. And you know, that was a kind of misnomer in itself, because, you know, we are so you know, so much of us is our art and culture and literature, right? It's, and I think the other area which I think was challenging for what, or I think that myth that we managed to dispel is this idea that, you know, there is some kind of an issue with us as Bangladeshis celebrating, you know, a range of things, and I think that this is so kind of Bangladeshi to be able to embrace all of this.
Absolutely.
I remember one of the panels I was on, you know, somebody had sort of said to me that, you know, one of the biggest challenges for Bangladeshis was, you know, Amiki Musulman, Amiki Bangladeshi. And, you know, I think all of us as Bangladeshis know that that's like a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
You know, we're
both.
Those of us who are Muslim, we're both.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and I can't stress this enough, that, you know, for, you know, whichever religion you are, or, you know, whichever background you come from, you can be Bangladeshi. And,
Absolutely.
you know, that is the other thing that we've tried to completely celebrate at the Lit Fest, to be diverse, to be inclusive, and also to push the boundaries for, you know, us as well. So to embrace contemporary forms of expression, and you know, celebrate young people that are trying to experiment and innovate.
How many people now come to Dhaka Lit Fest? From 500 to?
Well, I think, you know, we had, I think, about 30,000 coming over 3 days.
Brilliant.
Last time, or many more registered. And
you can only accommodate that many.
Right, exactly.
That's
so
fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's brilliant. I've observed you closely during the DLF, and you know, there's thousands of people coming to you, including myself, comments, congratulations, and complaints to, you know, queries. Okay. You remain completely unshaken, confident, positive, relaxed, and always with a smile. You are energy in motion. Where does this come from?
Oh, wow. This, I love for life, I guess. I absolutely love the team that I work with. I love working with my co-directors, Asan and Anis. I love, you know, all of my friends, and Dhaka there. You know, I think the other thing is that, you know, initially maybe in the first festival I kind of knew everyone, and now I hardly know anyone.
Yeah.
No, I mean I
10% maybe of 30.
10% maybe, because the you know, stats that we have out are over 80% are, you know, under 25, which is fabulous. And the other thing is that, you know, of course one feels like before, like I actually, you know, chose to do this, you know, put myself under this pressure. So, you know, I obviously, you know, think...
Never again.
Yeah, I think that, you know, before every Lit Fest.
Yes.
And, you know, the thing that has actually the most challenging has been raising funds.
Yes.
Because I think we still don't have that tradition of philanthropy, and India actually, is, I think, far more advanced in that way.
Right.
So they've been able to raise money for, there's a host of literature festivals that happen all over over India, and that is still a huge challenge. And I'm hoping that one day it won't be as much of a challenge. But of course, that's a big source of stress. But I get my energy, I think, from the crowd, from the other authors who are just so generous, and most of them are so generous and engaged and excited, and the other thing is that I think it's a celebration also of the beauty of art and literature in its highest form.
Yes.
And so when you see, a wonderful, conversation about a work which is really stellar, when you see somebody talking who has, put that effort and that shadhuna and that talent and that brilliance into it, I've been at panels where, authors that I've heard speak many times just say something that just gives me that paradigm shift to think of things in a different way, or see the world in a different way. And that is happening in multiple levels. Because I think the thing that excites me the most when people tell me that they've heard something, or they've seen something, or they've had an interaction which has really added to their view of the world, or how they feel, or that is something which is really truly wonderful.
You seem to achieve and succeed in accomplishing whatever you set your mind to. So what's playing in your brilliant mind right now? Give me a rundown on the playlist.
That would be telling. I'm trying to write.
Okay.
So I'm writing
a novel.
I'm writing a novel.
Wow. Okay.
So I hope to come up with that.
Fiction, non-fiction.
Fiction. And then, as I was mentioning, I am starting a biotech company. Okay. So I'm hoping to be able to make some good progress on that. And I'm actually looking forward to the 10th edition of our Lit Fest.
Well, that was my last question.
Okay.
Okay. The question that everybody's anxiously waiting for: when is the next Dhaka Lit Fest?
So we're planning it, and it's going to be soon. And we've got a lot of amazing things in store. Very, very excited about it. Yeah. Really want to take it to the next level.
So it's 22, 23?
Thinking about it being perhaps just over a year from now. So yeah. January 23.
Jan 23. Okay, super. Looking forward to it. All right, SADAF, we've come to the end. Before we end, is there some way I could convince you to maybe read one of your poetries from this beautiful book?
Oh, thank you. I think I'll read something which I actually wrote a very long time ago.
Okay.
But it touches on some of the things that we were talking about at the beginning.
Okay. Childhood. Okay.
Tickly and glass bangles. With tickly and glass bangles, a swish of archel with sandal toe, secured in this jigsaw web, as pieces come and go. Am I in too deep? Sometimes not at all. Red bar, Sari edge, black shades and all. Untamed as sweat glistens, a shake of tangle with jet mane, I've awoken again to the destiny I foresaw, the dream that I bore. To many who had glimpsed the black and white prince, bear a chronicle of sorts. Yes, I've emerged with uncorked gushing froth, cutting energy raw, stamping my horizons and others I saw. With askance parda eyes, and dormant riches within. I enveloped floating worlds till chains became rings.
Wow.
And freedom another space. As the wilderness grew, I with it too. Yes, I've ridden cotton clouds from strength, driven by the call. Black denim, bootlace, raw silk and all.
Oh, that's wonderful. SADAF, it is, you know, it's been wonderful having you here. And it's certainly through your efforts of hosting the DLF at the Bangla Academy that we're being able to meet international authors, and our local authors are, you know, being read, known, and acquainted with, you know, authors like V.S. Naipaul and Vikram Seth, William Dalrymple, Shashi Tharoor, and hundreds of others. In the way you are bringing positive exposure to our culture and literature, be it Bangla or English, we couldn't be more proud of you. And on behalf of Dhaka Sessions, our crew, our sponsors, and our viewers, thank you for the service that you're doing to our country. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.